Welcome back to Gollum. Oh, Jesus Christ. No, that's the thing. No, that's the thing, Jova. No, trust me. I would find the game boring too if it wasn't for the fact that one of the big problems I have with this game, and this will become more apparent later, is the is how unintuitive a lot of it is. First off, the lack of a dynamic camera, of course, makes it more frustrating to figure out how to progress than it needs to. And it's not even just that. There's going to be quite a lot of bits in this game where things are not properly conveyed. What the fuck? There's no texture under the water. It's just a void.
Wow. And the thing is, you can tell, looking above water, there should be a wall close enough for you to see, but it's just a wall. Come on, guys. All it takes is just to program a wall texture.
And it's like that bug in Sonic Superstars where you can fall through the stages in the world map and you're in the void, like.
But no. I mean, I get what you mean. Like, and look, I'll say this: while the game does feel padded, I will say that the bugs and glitches will probably help keep a play from being boring. That said, that is probably one of the worst ways to keep a game from being boring when it has to be so broken that it is honestly quite a fest to watch.
Honestly, I would find the game, at least from my, again, a test to my patience when it comes to these things, I would find the game somewhat tolerable if it was better, if the progression was better conveyed, because there's a lot of times in this game where I genuinely get stuck because I have no fucking clue what the game expects of me, because the game, in my opinion, does a poor job of conveying things. I've already mentioned the lack of a dynamic camera and how it makes things more frustrating than they need to be. But there's going to be other things like environmental puzzles that are not where the methods of solving are not conveyed well enough, in my opinion. But we'll go about those as we go.
It's a combination of things for me. The story is not engaging. The gameplay, while somewhat interesting at the start, does not really escalate or really evolve much. At least not in ways to make it more fun over the course of stuff. And sometimes the gameplay just doesn't make any flippin' sense at times.
I love how the animation of the orc punching Gollum, like it's not even
sound effects. So.
Not just that, Theo. It doesn't even animation wise. It doesn't even look like it didn't even look like a proper punch. It looked more like one of those punches an older brother gives to a younger brother, just like as a joke, like a very soft, non-hurtful punch, you know, the kind, right? Like the way it was animated, it didn't even look painful at all. Like,
you know, another problem is, like, when you get down to it, it's just a matter that, well, it doesn't feel like much is happening. And again,
hold on, let me explain this. You also have this bit where you swing and jump, and you can also... Oh, Gollum is amazing at this. Look at this. He can turn like a complete 180 while on the spot. Like,
yeah.
Well, that didn't work. Let's try again. Go on, Jova.
Like, again, it's the Lord of the Rings series, and yeah, I'm sure we'll go to some other locations eventually, but man, the actual locales that they picked have not been that visually stimulating.
We are literally in what is the equivalent. Hey, Liz, would you say this is the equivalent, the Middle Earth equivalent of London? Based on what you always say about London.
This will be a free zone, so more like Alcatraz.
Or Australia.
Well, if the London dungeon had lava everywhere, then yes.
Damn, like it's amazing how long Gollum can jump. Was Gollum always this good of a jumper?
Like, I'll just say this: at this point of the story, I am ready to move on to another location because it just is. I don't know why, like, because technically we have seen locales like this in other Lord of the Rings games, but just something about the way this game does it makes them feel so blah to the senses.
It's because there's nothing going on. There's nothing interesting going on, either plot-wise or gameplay-wise. It's just like the gameplay is bland and doesn't particularly execute this particular genre of game well. And the plot is very shallow. There's not really
I
much
wonder-
going on. It's just Gollum trying to, and now of course there's going to be a bit where he has to escape and everything. But like, there doesn't seem to be any kind of narrative arc going on.
I
Not
gotta
really.
wonder, did the Nazgul just go around randomly capturing people to put them in jail and do nothing
Yes,
else with?
Yes.
I can believe yes, because again, during those 60 years of preparation, the ones where Talia was supposedly, causing intestinal war, the forces of Sauron were not yet ready to wage war, and that included also the Nazgûls. Remember, they were also partially banished, along with the Necromancer during the events of a Hobbit, thanks to the efforts of the White Council, meaning that they were not really at their full power nor in full capacity in terms of numbers. So this is a period of time in which Mordor is recuperating energy, technically.
I suppose in that regard, it would make sense that the Nazgûl would capture rather than kill, I guess, to have more slaves to build up the resources in these dungeons.
I wish I could cast this game into the fire, but it's a digital copy, so I cannot.
Also, it's best if you don't inhale the fumes, resulting fumes.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy it! I can't, it's a digital copy. Oh, okay.
Toss your console with it on there!
No, you know what this would be, actually? Considering, okay, question. Has Warner Brothers also been supportive of NFTs? I don't think I've paid attention to see.
Not from what I've
not that I know.
noticed.
Well, okay.
I know they tried to put the Flash on the blockchain or something.
Well, there you go. That works. Okay, imagine if they did something like that, where like it would be something where you're like, destroy this game, destroy it. I can't. It's an NFT. It doesn't. It's not an actual game, or something like that. Anyway, also Gollum died. By falling in the air? Like, seriously, he didn't actually fall into the lava or anything. He just died in the middle of the air. Like, you couldn't.
The shock killed him.
We know that this game has an animation for Gollum dying in the lava, so why not do that? Go on.
Hold on. I wish you could have gone up a bit more, because unless there were ropes attached to those skulls, it looked like they were floating in midair. Okay, no, there are ropes attached to them. Like, would you put it past this game to have skulls just floating in midair?
Nope, I would not.
Oh, shoot, we've been spotted. And died.
Enemy spotted.
Basically, what happened, the reason for that is because, in my opinion, the game didn't I mean, obviously, yes. You can say it's my fault for not using the detective mode to see if there were any enemies on the other side of the wall. See, because they're a bit tough to spot, like on the naked eye. But yeah, obviously, if I use the detective mode, it shows where they are, like so. Obviously, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, cool, I understand that. The detective mode is something that you can use to prevent something like this. That being said, I don't think it should be to a point where I have to use this all the fucking time. Because I've played plenty of games that have detective modes like this, like the Arkham games, for example, and they don't require you to use this for every single step and section you do, just in case there's an enemy on the other side of the wall,
Also, the later the games introduce the enemies that try to actively discourage you from using it in order to force you into a state of fucking hell. In order for you to experiment without it, even if you're doing it.
That's basically it, yes.
Again, I think it speaks volumes that most recallings of this of this game, are about just how much the game is constantly collapsing upon itself. I don't think anyone really talks up much about the story. Like, that's how, non-existent the plot
Mostly
is.
we're busy talking about, the technical performance. I can tell you already because I saw pretty much everything. The story is harmless at worst. We were comparing it to Super M64. Super M64, whatever story was supposed to have, was repurposed and minced into a state that makes it very laughable compared to the source material. This if let me put it this in the simplest way possible. If the game was competently technical enough, Jova, it would technically don't have problems story-wise.
I will say this: I have a few issues story-wise because, again, the pacing of the plot itself is pretty bad.
I mean, that's just how it's implemented. When I'm talking about the story, I'm talking about what is the story that the game is telling. Not necessarily how stretched a sequence might be.
I think in that regard, then, we have the issue Pedro mentioned that there's no apparent arc so far. It's so far it's Gollum gets taken to jail by the Nazgul.
It seems to be just mostly so far, it seems to be mostly just a Gollum escaping from his prison type of scenario.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he's engaging, interesting, or great. But
I guess
by the same token, it's not really that awful.
I guess it's not. It's just that. But by the standards of this franchise, though, it's not particularly.
It's been much better.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think really it's a great thing if the story does not capture the audience at all. Look. In a lot of cases, if the gameplay were stellar or great, yeah, it would be a shame that the story is blah. But, at the very least, we could say that the game is good and fun, and, maybe the focus wasn't mainly on the narrative. But the thing is, though...
Well, at least this time he fell properly, instead of dying in the air. Seriously, it's so inconsistent the way he dies. How come sometimes he dies in the air instead of properly falling?
I Crash Bandicoot.
Now, part of the reason I do give the plot flack is they definitely were putting some emphasis on it, enough that they tied DLC to aspects of the plot, including the voice acting and the language, and getting to actually know the lore of what's going on. So, again, clearly they do actually pay mind to the plot. So in that regard, yes, I have to dock points for how the plot
remember, even in the marketing,
well handled so far.
Well, like I said before, Joe, but even in the marketing, they were saying the untold story of Gollum and shit and blah blah blah.
Yes, I guess we technically have never heard the story, and I'm beginning to wonder if even Smeagol's too embarrassed to really recount it.
So, it would be Frodo would be like, so, tell me, Smeagol, what have you been doing before you met us? Oh, we do not talk about that.
The thing is, maybe something interesting will happen, but we're a good ways into the game, and it feels like not much has happened aside from Gollum being taken to jail. And granted, yes, Pedro did admit that this is a first-time playthrough of his, but the game has not been engaging on any front. If your gameplay ain't engaging, and your narrative ain't engaging...
See, I kind of wish we had more dialogue like this one.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I agree. And that's the main thing I agree with you on, Tio. At the very least, give us more of Gollum being Gollum.
Later on, Gollum temporarily will have a companion, so there will be a bit more dialogue later on. But it's not. But even that doesn't last forever because eventually they'll separate. No, that was my bad. That was my bad. I didn't properly pay attention to that particular. I bumped into this thing here.
I'm guessing, I think that they'd at least let you jump on the very
that was my it's one of those things where it's just I keep forgetting about that. Just because it's not on screen doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Pedro. Come on, but no, it's no. See the thing is I can agree with that when it comes to the dialogue. It's more so the fact that here's the thing. The problem is that the story doesn't seem to have much of anything to say about Gollum in the overall story of the Tolkien verse that we don't already know. Not really. What exactly do we learn from this story that recontextualizes Gollum as a character, or recontextualizes any of the events?
He already wasn't one-dimensional. That's what I mentioned in one of the previous parts.
I will argue he was already three-dimensional.
He wasn't one-dimensional,
but only because Toro start arguing with them. Until that point, the audience is led to believe that he's just like that. And again, Frodo is also having a prejudice towards him and gonna have to rein him. Again, it's whatever, go on.
It's a good idea, but I just don't get that from this game because look, I'll be honest, I don't feel like we're getting anything from this game that we haven't seen aspects of Gollum of before. We've seen that he can have nuanced talks with himself before. We've seen that in some ways he could have potentially been a good guy, but circumstances really led it that he was just dead set in his mentality.
Let me just put a pin on that, Jobber, real quick, so I can explain this. Okay, here's another problem I have with the platforming in this game, specifically the jumping. Whenever you jump from one of these things, the longevity of your jump is scripted. Like you can't. It's not like you can control yourself mid-jump after jumping from this. So I was trying to just jump to the platform and just steer myself using the analogs like I would do any other platformer. But no. But the length of your jump is always the same. You can't control your jump in midair with the analog stick, meaning I can't just jump there. I have to wait till the pole is right above it so I can just drop. Which again is fine. I just wish I could also jump properly like a normal platformer where I can steer my jump midair using the analog stick, you know? It would make the gameplay more flexible instead of just this very rigid thing where I have to play the game in its exact terms and I can't just use my own skill or player creativity to try to come up with a faster way of doing things, you know. I'm not asking for this. I'm not asking for this thing to be Phantom Pain, but at the very least, make it so I can control my fucking jumps, for fuck's sake.
It's not even like they could boast realism because 1, fantasy, 2, have you seen the sort of air control characters like Legolas can do, and 3. Pretty sure if Gollum really wanted to, video game-wise, they could have just done it like that. Because, I mean, at the very least, if you really had to justify air control motion, just come up with, like, some power-up or something.
Remind me,
There's
too.
also another potential thing, the fact that Gollum's type of moveset is relatively limited and you don't really get like stuff like upgrades or something.
No.
It's also potentially not very stimulating, especially because, you know, especially these days, players have to be expecting more stuff like, you know,
Skill trees.
progression. Well, not necessarily, you know, a set of stats like in an RPG, but some kind of character progression in game where you get the other abilities, you know, as you go on, and you definitely feel a sense of improvement.
Sure. It's
I do.
Go on.
I do think maybe these could have been carried out if these levels were shorter. Because again, granted, I know this is Pedro's first time playing, but even with that in mind, these levels feel like they go on way too long, or at the very least, segment them more up with story.
I went with a blind run because I wanted to make sure I would capture any glitch I come across on camera. So,
well,
or should I say on footage rather? Go on.
Actually playing the game, how do you feel the pacing of levels are overall?
I wouldn't even mind the pacing so much personally if, again, the game did a better job conveying where and what I'm supposed to go / do. Because while most of the time it is, like I said, first off, again, the lack of a dynamic camera really annoys me because I'm so used to modern games having a dynamic camera. See, no, there you go. Now, there you go. See, look at that. Holy shit, the game does have dynamic camera bits. Why can't you do that more often? Like that kind of dynamic camera would have been useful when I was running away from the cattle earlier in the previous part.
I initially thought that was your camera work doing.
Actually, now that you've mentioned that, I'm not entirely certain if that if it can be both. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, but I don't.
It's so broken it makes us question our own actions.
Whatever.
Past, present, and future.
Well, regardless, my point still stands. Like, I'm annoyed because this is a 2023 game. Dynamic cameras are a standard for the industry nowadays in these kinds of games. Like, fucking Mario Galaxy from 2007 had a dynamic camera. Yeah, again, you couldn't change the camera. How do you fix that? Simple. The camera's dynamic and always points to what the developers want you to see. It's simple.
I think it's also. Sorry, go on.
Like, by all means, give the player freedom to move the camera as well, but typically you want to help set the camera. You want to help set the camera proper her moments, like the wall jump maneuver there. Go on.
Alright.
It's also important to contextualize the release of this game, because I don't think we've mentioned it yet. If you forgot, this was also sold full price, $60.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Fucking Plague Tale Requiem, which is a PS5 and Xbox One only game by the way, it's not even a cross-gen game like a lot of games. Like that one was still released at $50. Like it's just.
So this was really a full-on $60 game.
Well, actually, let me double check real quick. I know. Well, now that I think Innocence was the one that was $50. Let me see. But even then, like Plague Tale Requiem is of course a more advanced game compared to the previous one, so it justifies that price. Let me just
like I said, like, okay, look, this feels like maybe a $30 or $40 game, and I still feel like I'm being generous there because there is just not much to this game. Like, it feels like there's little to do, and the way that they add on content is by padding out the levels to high heaven.
Okay,
I bet you.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
And I bet you somebody who knows what they're doing could probably clear the game quicker too. Go on to.
I think I might get on another thing, but Drova, you don't know the context, but Pedro does. I think that's the potentially the thing about the level design, Pedro. It's as if basically someone took Blighttown and made an entire portion of the game about that.
Yeah,
Blighttown from Majora's Mask?
Okay,
not the Blighttown I'm thinking of then.
We're making a Dark Souls trivia to Jova. Basically, Blighttown is a particularly infamous place among the Souls fandom, let's just say.
Let me put it this way, not in a sense of difficulty when comparing these two, but probably because very due to appearance and potential visual engagement, like you said.
How you've been playing the remaster too? How is it in the remaster?
Oh, it's actually much more bearable. I mean, okay, taking aside the whole knowing the level design cuts your work out by half, the remaster does a great job in keeping the performance. The whole thing about, again, in context, Drova, particularly on consoles, the PC version was a bit better post patches for the original version of the game. But the original state of the game, that entire level, you were lucky to have 15 frames per second.
Yeah, like the original version of Blighttown was.
For a reason that escaped me, the way it was loading textures of all the enemies and elements make it lag a lot. And a lot of the enemies respawn, meaning that you cannot even cheese away, ease up the frame rate by playing the game correctly. Thankfully, again, the remasters makes it work perfectly fine, smooth 60 frames. I don't know actually.
The remaster was made by Q-Lock, the same guys who made the Ni no Kuni remaster. So. It's interesting. That's the thing too. Like, I personally like the way the remaster looks, but I might as well ask you because it's kind of divisive. A lot of the Souls purists don't really like how it looks visually compared to the original.
It's the lighting effects that are a point of contention. I personally don't mind, and I do know for a fact that in the PC there are a couple of mods that help restoring, the original lighting. So, for anyone who actually might have a problem with that, you have an easy fix anyway.
Yeah, true.
But otherwise, the game runs a bit better, and supports the same.
I actually like with their Ni no Kuni 1 remaster. That's probably their best job that I've seen because they did a great job properly changing. Because if you compare the original PS3 version to the remaster, the PS3 version looks darker in lighting, whereas the remaster looks much more akin to the proper lighting and coloring of a Studio Ghibli film. Because they just fixed up the colors to make it look even more like a Ghibli film, like the proper colors and lighting that they usually use in their films. Not that the PS3 version already looked fantastic to begin with, obviously, but there was still room for improvement as the remaster demonstrated, in my opinion. But oh yeah, this game.
Hi.
Hello, we're playing a game with Gollum in it.
Yes.
Oh, it's like that guard just popping out of the window. Like, hi.
But yeah, with blood. No, that's the thing. But it boils down to the fact, Jova, that okay. How about this? So let me put it in a way you'll understand. Blighttown is the Souls franchise's equivalent of Adabat back in the original 360 PS3 versions of Unleashed. There you go.
Oh.
Now,
so
not just that,
laggy.
but imagine if that stage from Sonic 8, because I remember which one specifically, but imagine if that was also a poison swamp. That
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't help.
Oh boy, it's well, okay. Have later
See the thing?
releases of
Yes,
Dark Souls
remastered.
fixed, like
Theo just said the remastered.
Like you just said, the remaster fixes the frame rate, and like I said, you know,
okay,
yeah, the
I'm sorry.
camera zooming in.
The way that they showed the guard there, it made it look like
Oh,
he
okay,
was
I think it's this
phasing in
bit.
through the bars.
If I remember correctly,
Alright.
I did. Oh, never mind. I think I cut it out. Okay.
What you were saying?
No, hold on, go on.
No, I think there was a bit that I cut out where I hid behind that little grate thing, which I thought it would be a nice place to hide, but the guy was able to see me through that, even though that doesn't make much sense to me. But whatever.
There's also the fact that in some sections you switch to a first person, probably to accommodate better the place where you are, but it becomes a bit intrusive more than anything.
All right, let's distract that guy with the. The basic idea is that we have to distract that guard from there because he's literally blocking the door.
You're in my way, sir.
You're literally in my way. Come on, dude. Nope, nothing's here. Go away. There you go.
Please.
Unfortunately, with this, I don't think that works.
Oh, I said please.
Alright, let me see. There you
The
go.
trajectory is weak. Hobbits
It is, isn't it?
No, it's the thing. Even in lore-wise, hobbits are supposed to be very good at throwing stones. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. Just to... that reminds me too, actually.
Those hobbits aren't.
That reminds me too. If I remember correctly, keep in mind I haven't seen the first
Go
Hobbit
on.
movie in literally... But yeah, almost a decade at this point. If I remember correctly, isn't it in the Hobbit well, the Hobbit book that we learn
yeah.
that we learn the story of like the origin story of Gollum?
No.
Oh no.
It's in Two Towers.
Oh, okay. Okay then. So the story of how Gollum became the way he is has already been told. So
Remember what the intro said to an extent, or part of a data log. The fact that you know the Tolkien had wrote Gollum for the Hobbit, but wanted to repurpose him for the character for the Lord of the Rings, but was challenged by the fact that Gollum was a one-off kind of thing in the Hobbit, and thus had to find a way to make him integrated more with the story of Lord of the Rings as a result.
see, this is a good example. See, I had to move the camera up to tell, whereas, like I said, in a lot of games like these, the dynamic camera would help me figure out where I'm supposed to go on to.
Well, that's basically it. You know, the fact that
Sure.
and like I said, this is basically, as a story, this is technically adding to stuff we already know, but you know, it's still unknown material that, like he said, with the suspension of disbelief, it makes it possible that it actually happened in that in-between stuff. It still omits a few things, like I said, the one that manages to actually capture Gollum temporarily and put him in Thranduil's cells is supposed to be Aragorn, but he's not going to be trapped in this game.
And that's the thing, remember, medias res, so we know that either he'll have to escape after that interrogation scene goes, or this setup for a jail escape is going to end in failure.
Yeah.
One of those
in
two.
the jail at the beginning, Jova is not in this one. He's prisoner of Thranduil in Mirkwood, not in Mordor.
It's hard to tell because the two
Or are you telling me,
scenes look similar.
Jova, that Gandalf managed to arrive in Mordor to interrogate him willy-nilly?
I mean, that wouldn't be the weirdest thing this game has done,
No,
I'll be honest.
that's a bit too much even for him.
Again, like, honestly, plot is not exactly this game's strongest suit, so as far
Alright,
as I'm
so now we're
concerned,
supposed to
anything
find-
could happen.
That's what we came here for, if I recall correctly, finding a map that can help us finding out.
The architect plans, yes. No, we have to find one that has the tower in it.
And it's like so much of this game blends in with itself visually that it's hard to sometimes differentiate some
There it
areas from
is.
others strictly. Ah.
This one looks like the tower. nasty Tower of Light. Yeah, time to go back. Orcs will miss us. Don't want to go up the silent stairs, do we?
This sequence has been going on for quite a bit of time.
This goes on for some time.
It does. No, but just to finish my point. See, the thing about From Software, Jova, is that they're brilliant game designers, but when it comes to the technical aspects of the games, they definitely have a lot of room to improve, especially when it comes to their PC ports. Even as recently as Elden Ring, Elden Ring's PC port is not very good.
I know that the Armored Core one actually works fine.
I haven't actually looked into that one, but I can tell you that from what I've seen, if you can take a look at Digital Foundry's analysis videos, like the PC version of Elden Ring is not particularly great. In fact, the only way to play Elden Ring at a rock solid 60 FPS is by playing the PS4 version on the PS5. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it works the same way with the Xbox One version on the Series X. Maybe so. I don't know how that works. But go on.
So what you're telling me is they're average programmers, but brilliant designers.
That's basically it. Yes.
Cool.
It's kind of similar to. I mean, that's the thing. Like Fumito Ueda is one of it's one of Hidetaka Miyazaki's biggest inspirations, and it shows because that's another developer who's a much better designer, storyteller than he is a programmer slash.
The company From Software was having that even before Hidetaka Miyazaki properly showed up. There are a couple of good retrospective about stuff like Kingsfield that showcase how the company came to be and
Sure.
you know, what they were capable of even back then. To give you an idea, Jova, it was founded by an accident because someone had a motorcycle crash and while he was in hospital recovering, he used time to ponder about his life, and because the insurance money gave him a fuck ton of money, he ended up, it was like, well, let's start a software company. And then when the video game boom of Japan from the mid 80s started arriving, you know, that's what he specialized in the company.
All right.
Hi.
A snag of worm wants to dig himself a little hole.
Cursing noise.
Not such a good.
It's for the
I don't
hearing
understand
impaired.
also why the orcs have those weapons. I noticed them since the beginning. Like, instead of having swords, they have those weapons that remind me of the typical mace, toothy maces that the Aztecs used to have.
Crane was
Whoa! Did his hair suddenly go white?
into it.
Also, that guy's neck, he's breaking it just to look up.
No,
Jesus.
it was another guy under the light.
The lights with him.
Oh, I know, but he was breaking his neck just to look up to this guy. So, we're busted.
Lakes?
Yes, our fiery lakes. A bunch of slaves didn't report back.
Oh, great! Let's get another fetch quest. Great.
That is a surprisingly lenient punishment, all things considered. Just...
I hope
Oh,
they're
you
gonna
get-
try and push him into that fiery lake.
Me too.
I guess it's too early.
Well, at least this time.
It's also the fact of, oh, it's a suicide mission. He probably won't get back.
Well, at least there's a good piece of good news. We only have to get 3 tags this time. So there's that.
Why does this
Alright.
person even care? Well, okay, I guess it's to make sure nobody escapes, but still.
And also to, psychologically torture them. And physically too.
Alright, tune in next time, everybody, where things heat up. See you then.
See ya.